This here is a Stewart model R-1881. It's the project that's currently coming off the bench. It has some issues with it, losing a little bit of veneer at the base underneath the knobs and speakers. Has cracked and broken dial cover. It has serious trauma at the waterfall edge above the dial. It's going to require repair and new veneer, I'm afraid. So we'll do that. Overall, the cabinet is pretty good shape, and it is solid except for that trauma. It will be completely sanded down to raw wood, and the vertical bars on the front will be removed. The one knob that you see there with the little flutes on the side will be the what we'll use for that. The other one will go into the catch basin. The dial is in real good shape. No scars or scratches. The needle seems to be intact. Looking at the back is still pretty good. The cabinet is pretty solid and smooth on the inside. There is no rust, telltale rust, that I can see in this picture. The sticker will come off and get reproduced. That tube there is a substitute tube. It's been in a repair state before, prior. Somebody must have grabbed it and tried to move it at the first IF can and pulled it loose. With the chassis removed, you can see that it's still pretty good shape. It has a ballast tube in it. All the tubes seem to be okay and intact. It's just cruddy with a bunch of dust. The antenna coil appears to be in pretty good shape. That little green wire you see coming out of that hole there, that's for the external antenna. The dial lamp is still pretty good shape. The fins on the tuner look good. That part there where the cord goes in looks like it's part of a label that was removed some time ago and is no longer there. We will replace that with a new label. So we'll be putting this up on the bench, and well, it's already done as far as done is done. So be looking for the for that operation video coming soon. It'll be in the works. All the caps have been replaced. That multi-cap there has been replaced, and new there's a new button cell that's been put in there in replacement of that other to get the bias on the audio tube. All the wiring appears to be in pretty good shape. Some of those resistors are going to be replaced. That wafer switch is an issue, and we're going to be dealing with that. And of course, the oscillator is in good working order. So we'll put it together and get it done. So stay tuned. Okay, this is the other radio that I was kind of working in tandem with that 350 Philco. This is a Stewart Warner radio. I think it's pre-40s. I'll have to double check. It's been sitting on the shelf for some time, waiting for a power resistor to come in because of the what the hell you call this thing there? Crap. Okay, yeah, it's a ballast tube. The original ballast tube. It worked, but it made a lot of buzzing noise in the radio. I'm not really sure. I mean, all it is just like Litz wire wound around a mica insulator in there that goes the length of the tube, and it goes around and around and around and around, and it only uses 3 pins: pin 3, pin 7, and pin 8 of this tube. And but it just buzzed. I was chasing everything down in the chassis trying to figure out what the heck was causing it. And when I pulled this out and I substituted a makeshift power resistor, the only thing that really uses this here is this drops the 120 volts down to the 70 plus volts that the rest of the tubes use. This is only a 6-tube radio. Well, it's only basically a 5-tube radio with a ballast tube in it, if you want to call it a 6-tube. But I put that power resistor in there, and the only other thing that utilizes it is this lamp here. It peels across pin 7 and 8. This lamp uses, and all it is just a small 2-watt resistor that drops the 70 plus voltage on pin 7 to about a 6 volt to pin 8, and they use it for the lamp. Well, once I did that, the buzzing went away. So so much for trying to keep this thing looking original. So I made this up out of an octal socket. Just busted the bulb part of it off and gutted it, and then all this is a 1-inch EMT tube cut down to about the height of the standard tube, and drilled holes in 4 of the tangent points, 90 degrees from each other, and it fits relatively perfect into the socket base. So I don't know if you can see that in there. It's one of those aluminum encased power resistors. I tried various kinds in there, from a 100 ohm to 180 ohm, but the voltages weren't right. With the standard ballast tube in there, the voltages were running extremely low, especially for these tubes down here on the end of the string. These here were running about 3 to 5 volts low. This one here was running a few volts low, but those here, one of them was down to about 4.2 volts, and of course the radio had poor receptive qualities. So I finally figured out that it was the voltages weren't there, and I decided to move to this because these things are like dodo birds. It's kind of hard to come up with these without, chopping off an arm or something near and dear to your body to replace it. So I just did this, and the only thing that's in this thing here is that power resistor. It's a 50 watt,
And there's a 2-watt 22 ohm resistor down in there that jumps from pin 7 to pin 8. So we did that on this. This has been completed here pretty much for some time, and it's of course been recapped. You can tell some of the resistors have been replaced in here. The new E-caps are in. This wafer switch, this was worked on sometime in the past, and this thing was as dumb as a post whenever I first got it, and tried putting it under test to see if I could get a squeak out of it, and I wasn't getting anything on either band. And I double checked this thing, and I'm not really sure if anybody pulled this out at one time and tried to do anything with it, but I did notice that there are 2 stops in here for this wafer switch. It's either in the clockwise or the counterclockwise. It's a 2-position switch, and it has 4 common pins, if you will, on the back that can be utilized for switching from either one of 2 pairs of lugs 90 degrees apart from each other. So there's it's a 4-lug 2-position switch, and I had to take it out and take a good close look at it. And on first inspection, the thing was just spinning around and around and around and around, no stops on it. And I thought, well, that can't be. There's only 2 bands on this thing. So I managed to figure it all out, and I had to make an adjustment on a couple of these trimmers, because it didn't match the schematic. For some reason, it took me quite a long time to kind of trace this one out and figure out which was which, because the schematic was kind of unclear about which trimmer adjusted one of the band or the other of the band, the broadcast or the shortwave. So it took me a while to kind of figure out which one was doing the doing for each of the particular bands, and consequently had to wind up tweaking the connections on these lugs for this wafer switch so that it would function properly. And I finally got it, so it's functional on both bands, and the dial didn't have to do anything with, but managed to clear it and protect it, and of course pulled the usual tuner off and get it clean, and it's got new isolation on it, and it's all aligned, and the chassis is all painted. Let me get her turned around here and try to keep these tuners closed as much as possible when I handle them, because if you accidentally slip and drop it or drop something on it and it hits those fins, you're gonna play hell trying to get them straight again. Alright, so it's got new stickers on it and everything. This one here had to be completely reproduced. There was a portion of it that still remain. Fortunately, I had this particular part. Well, actually, I had both from another Stewart Warner that I did quite some time ago, a few years ago, that I still had in the computer. That all I needed to do was tweak the model number and the and the voltage requirements on it, and change the tube location layout and re-identify the tubes. This one here had to be created new. This here was added on. All this had was a regular wire that came out of this rivet hole here from this tube and trailed out the back of the chassis. And what I did was I just went ahead and put a barrier strip in here, anchored it to the chassis, and there's a lug here now that you can connect a gator clip to, or a regular long wire antenna, or a length of wire for an antenna on this thing. Since it doesn't come with a loop antenna or an internal antenna. So I finally got the power resistor in, got it all done, got this connected up and finalized and back in the thing and tested out and checked out, and I have the cabinet waiting. It's been sitting on the shelf waiting for its call, and so now I can go ahead and get this one here finalized in the next couple of days. The 350 is back together and ready to go. I'll be doing a video on that hopefully either tonight or tomorrow over the weekend, and getting it posted. I'll dig out the cabinet for that Stewart Warner. It's right here. I'll dig it out and give you a quick look at it. Just give me a minute to make the swap. Okay, here is the cabinet for that Stewart Warner. Excuse all the jumbling and everything. I try to get a decent shot of the cabinet without all the glaring and stuff. This one here, like I said, has been ready for some time. It's got the standard typical finish that I put on them. It's cleared with a clear a clear gloss poly. There's the inside of the thing. Amazingly enough, there was no cabinet stickers in here. They managed to get it all on the chassis. But it's all set and ready to go. So anyway, look for this in the next few days, and then it's on to the next one. So we'll see you soon.